Hudson's Plant Centre for our new edition of Green Fingertips, and it's in January. Right, we're here with Mark Smith, our garden guru. He's going to tell us all about why we're here today.
Yeah, so good morning, Liz, and Happy New Year to you. So,
Happy New Year.
Yeah, new year, new venue. We're at Hudson's Plant Centre, as you said, and this was formerly Ecclesbourne Plant Centre.
Right.
So, established plant centre already, but Dale and Carl Hudson bought it in November of last year, and really started the year with working from the ground up, clearing the space, getting rid of all the old type plants. And as we're standing here at in the plant centre at the moment, there's very few plants, but it is that time of the year. But it's kind of making way for all the new plants that are coming in to start the season off. Right, so there's not a lot that we can grow at this time of year, is there, Mark? Yeah, it's pretty limited. It's pretty limited, but thankfully, I mean, the plant of the month this month is Skimmia, and that's one of the ones that's always very popular at this time of year. Plenty of colour. The one next to you there is Skimmia rubella. And that's the male form that has flowers, doesn't have berries, and this is actually flower bud. So the red flower bud looks attractive, looks very wintry, Christmassy. This starts from around about the end of September last year, and it still looks this good and really a rich red right the way through to the end of February, April time. Then it bursts into life, has bright white flowers when it comes into flower, because that is the tart red bud. And when people think of Skimmia rubella, they think of it looking like that and not actually in flower. The one next to it is another Skimmia. This is Reevesiana, which is a berrying form. It's a female form, which has it does have flowers on, but it's mainly for the berry. So between the two, if you like the flowers or you like the berries, you've got a choice of the two. Extremely hardy, extremely hardy. They're evergreen.
Hard to kill then.
Yeah, they are hard to kill. You just need just the right soil. Don't like to be in really heavy clay. No. But they can be in a shady spot, and because of the winter flowering, most plants that you see at Hudson's, you know, that's in flower at the moment, are shade tolerant. Because most shade tolerant plants, if you've got a difficult spot in the garden which is very shady, winter flowering plants and winter interest plants are really good for that spot. Because they tend to be winter flowering. But they're evergreen. They don't really take any maintenance. You don't have to prune them at all. Just keep them in a pot, keep them in the garden, and they'll last for years and years and get bigger and better each year. Not particularly massive growing, 3 or 4 feet, so they're manageable, but very, very easy to grow. And again, because they give you that added interest from September to now, you know, almost half a year of colour. Bedding wise, you can get primulas, which Hudson's are selling at the moment, but they've got these lovely, I picked out these lovely cyclamen. Now these are a hardy mini cyclamen which can go outside, hardy down to -5. We had -1 this morning, and they still look good, but yeah, hardy down to -5. But again, because it's a corm or a bulb, plenty of drainage, so plenty of sand or grit underneath when you're planting them. You don't want them to have wet feet when you're planting them.
So how long do they flower for?
Well, they flower from beginning of January right the way through to end of April, on and off, and then there's the woodland cyclamen that come in after that, and they flower 2 or 3 times a year. But these are lovely, and they're becoming a lot more popular now. But these are really good. I mean, they've got plenty of flower buds coming along.
So you just deadhead them, and
you can deadhead them. They will do it themselves. They'll just sort of disappear, and they'll do it themselves. But
no maintenance.
If any flowers are they're on the plant and they're not really disappearing, then you can just pluck them off. But as you can see, they're all nice and clean.
Different colours,
Different colours. You can either stick with one colour or have a mix, and if you plant that up now in a bowl and for outside or a container outside, leave it in the container and it'll come back ready next year. You don't have to replant it at all. Nice and hardy. So
there's plenty of colour for this time of year.
Plenty of colour for this time of year.
So is there any tips of the month?
Yeah, I mean, it's that time of the year, and people think, oh, it's winter, I won't get out in the garden. But when you have lovely sunny days like we've had today, it's cold, keep wrapped up, always keep wrapped up. But follow on from any pruning that you haven't done, any autumn pruning, any shrubs that sort of finish flowering in the autumn you've not got round to pruning, prune those back now. It's really key to try and prune as soon after flowering as possible, then you get more flower for next year. And start weeding, believe it or not, while the weather starts to pick up. And we don't really get the winters that we used to get years ago. It stays quite mild and warm early on, and weeds start to grow. So if you can look through the borders, your shrub borders, your herbaceous borders, if you start to see weeds coming up through the plants, just hoe them out. While they're small, very easy to weed. If you get it, nip it in the bud, so to speak, before it gets too big, it won't self-seed.
Not using any weed killer?
Yeah, you don't really need to use, no. It's quite therapeutic going through with a hoe, and while you're doing that, you can have a look at the other plants that are in the borders that need any TLC.
Yeah.
If there's any herbaceous plants that probably need a bit of clean up, you can think about if you've got any gaps in the garden, have a look at your garden with fresh eyes and think that spot in the garden is missing something. It's missing a shrub.
Well, actually, they always look dead, don't they?
They
But
do.
then in the summer, everything starts coming
back.
up.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I suppose you've got to remember where everything is.
It is, yeah. You keep a diary, keep a plan of what you've got in the garden, especially when it's bulbs or whether it's herbaceous plants. But a lot of things die over the winter time, and if you have to replace them, think now about what you need to be replanting with. Also, Hudson's, they started doing planted bulbs, ready grown bulbs. So if you've forgotten to plant them in August, September time of last year, there's pots of bulbs available to buy, because it's that time of year where people are starting to think it's spring on its way, and when you start to see daffodils coming up in the garden, it gives you a little bit of sense of spring is on its way, and we'll be starting to do gardening very, very soon. So there's lots of plants available to brighten up the garden at the moment, and in the coming months it will just only accelerate, and there'll be more and more plants coming through. In future shows, we will be having an interview with Carl, one of the brothers that has opened up Hudson's plant centre, to talk about what his plans are for the future, because they're just currently rebuilding the coffee shop, and it takes a while, but we'll be getting a bit of feedback of what he's planning for the next year and the next few years, because it does take a time.
Well, thanks, Mark, for that. I hope that's been interesting for the viewers. And have we got any contact numbers?
Well, if the viewers want to contact me directly via email with any photos, any problems they've got in the garden, or any ideas they want, you can contact me on garden.guru@ntlworld.com. And that will get to me, and I can answer those on future shows. Hudson's Plant Centre contact details, the telephone number and email is on the screen right now.
And through Burton TV.
And you can also send them through Burton TV, any pictures, any questions, you can contact Burton TV, and likewise we can answer those in future shows as well.
Right, so that's the end of our show today, so we'll see you next time. We're here at Hudson's Plant Centre for our new edition of Green Fingertips.
Years, because it does take a time.
Well, that's lovely, Mark. A lot of information there. I hope that's been some use for you. No, not use. Use. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Mark, for that. So that's been some interesting tips for you. And Mark, have we got any contact numbers?
Well, if you want to contact me...
Right, okay.
Right, it sounds as if you were prompted down your ear. So,
Yeah, I know, I was thinking.
we'll actually do
Could
that
you...
again.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a while since you've done this.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's true, it is. It's
And
I'm thinking, oh, I've started that way, I've got to carry on. Well,
Well, actually, it's pretty good because
Yes.
if you drop dead now, we could get away with it. But
thanks.
You're not dropping dead, are you?
Oh, well, no, not at the
That's all
moment.
right then. Okay. All right, in your own time, Mark, that's great.
That was interesting, Mark. So, I hope the customers have found this useful.
Not customers.
Customers,
Viewers.
viewers, sorry.
And again,
Number 100. Oh dear.
hang on. Give it 10. Right, think of your rates. Can't count them now.
Rates?
Yeah.
No
Yeah,
thanks.
that's counted.
Yeah, yeah, all bloody
All right, in your own time.
Okay.
Go.
Well, thanks, Mark, for that. I hope that's been interesting for the viewers. And, right, so that's the end of our show today. So, we'll see you next time. Was that all right? Or show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Show.
great.
Show.
That's good. Done.
Excellent.